Okay, making my trade recap on the first day of 2024. Pretty crazy day actually on the daily on the Nasdaq. A big sell-off, which normally doesn't actually provide me with tons of opportunities, although there was today. I didn't trade my best. I made a couple of mistakes and missed some trades, which I was kind of expecting given I've taken, had a week and a half or so without trading. I did expect to come in today rusty. I was actually debating whether I should just trade only evals today, but I decided to trade live. So the results weren't great. I'll go into those in a second. But the good thing is that by the end of the day, or by the end of the first really couple hours, I did really look at the market and go, my edge is still very much working. How I'm seeing the market is good. I've just made a few mistakes, and those few mistakes really cost me, which is part of trading. My goal long term is to improve on those, and I much prefer being in a situation where I can go, my edge is working. I made mistakes because it means you can make improvements to then actually become successful. If your edge is just not working, then you're not gonna you're not gonna make it. So I'll go through the trades today and the mistakes I made. So the very first trade I took, and some of these I took on both my live account and some on just one of my evals as I didn't love the setup. My first trade was a mistake. So I used this low here as a support area, and I kind of count this as a double bottom. And I think I got a little bit obsessed with the idea of, oh yeah, this will work out fine. And this really isn't actually my edge. You can see this is just in its own channel. We haven't put in a double bottom. This is just downtrending. So this really is not my edge, but we broke above the 50 EMA really nicely, and I thought, okay, I'll look for a long, and I ended up taking it long right here. The entry as well felt a tiny bit early. I don't think it was, from a, if you get rid of the fact that the situation here, this is not my edge. If you get rid of that, the entry itself is okay. I think I got a tiny little bit unlucky that I got, filled right at the top of this candle, um, but yeah, and so I got in at 16.77225 and stopped out at 16.761. So I took a bit of a loss there, which was frustrating. And at that point, I kind of realized I'd forced the trade, but I didn't hate it. Next trade I took was actually pretty unlucky. This is now a much better setup because we have this high here, which matched up with this area of resistance here. So we put in the resistance from 945 and 947. It's a nice area of resistance. It was also initially an area of kind of support. So nice area. We ran into that. So this is now definitely my kind of like situation where I believe I have an edge in. Gets below the 50 EMA, gives a nice flag. I get short at 16.750, 750, and this missed my target by a tick. I was happy to take this off for 16. 74850 and lock in around about 9 points. I'd have been very happy with that, and I got missed by a tick, and unfortunately it came all the way up and it hit my slightly adjusted stop. So this was a good trade, and on another day I'd have probably made a small profit on this. And at this point I was a little bit frustrated because I realized that I should not have taken the first trade and should have maybe taken some profit on the second trade. And it's never nice to be in that situation where you realize I could be up 150, 160 bucks, and instead I'm down 650, 700, whatever it was. It wasn't nice, but I was just trying to remind myself that okay, the edge is still looking good. And then I took one really nice trade, but unfortunately did not take it on my live account, which I'm not particularly happy with. But I didn't want to just react to this. I realized that there was a potential short here, which is iffy, but probably a legitimate setup. And if I had taken that, I'd be short around about here, risking to here, and it would have hit my first target. And I don't think it would have quite stopped me out. It would have been really close depending on where I got filled. So given that at this point I thought I should still be in that previous trade, I didn't want to take another trade in case I look back and went, that's wrong. And I'm really trying to start the year going, if there's any reason to not take a trade, don't take it. Didn't really follow that on the first trade, but well. So I took it just on my eval, and naturally it was the trade that worked today. It's best. So we had that flag back to the 50 EMA. I love it when you get these sort of like very small, slow candles at the 50 EMA. This is like perfect where it's like the buyers are trying, there's no more buyers coming in. I got an entry here on the break of 16.750. I got in at 16.749.25. I took half off down here at 16,740, 125. I could have got a little more on this. This isn't a very good exit. I could have got a few extra points on that, but oh well. And the rest I got right at the low of this candle, actually at 16,717. But like I said, this was only on my eval account, so it's one of those where this first trade shouldn't have happened. This second trade, yeah, I should have made, maybe 7-8 points on. This trade maybe isn't as legitimate as I thought at the time, and then this one was an easy trade. So yeah, this was a nice trade. Unfortunately, only on my eval. We then got another situation where I believe that my edge is absolutely perfect. We have this sort of like low volume support, double bottom, and unfortunately I just did not get a legitimate setup for an entry. This would have been the ideal point here when this consolidation happened, but we did not tag the 50 EMA, and I use that as a guide to make sure I'm not just taking any random trade. I'm sure that in the future I may well just go, okay, this is shaped up fine. Yes, it hasn't tagged the 50 EMA, but it is holding. But yeah, it didn't take that trade. It didn't follow. It didn't sort of like hit all my criteria. So it didn't take that, but it did go. But again, it's just more evidence that the identifying the situations where there is an edge is still looking really strong. Next trade I took was on both of my on my live and my PA account. Sorry, my PA and my eval account. So we rejected this same area that we had done previously. We got below the 50 EMA. I did take this trade a little bit early. It wasn't my best entry. It would have been the same result if I had got in where I should have done. I should have got in probably down here around 61. I'd have taken the same kind of profit. So it's not the end of the world, but again, we flagged back. This candle was really weird. It was very whippy. So I got in a little bit earlier than the flag break at 16,764.25. Very nearly got stopped out on this push. Ended up selling off. Took half out for around about 8 points. 8 points exactly. Yeah, 8 points exactly. And the rest out for a scratch. There was an accidental order that went in there that I closed out pretty quickly. And then the final trade I took was also a mistake. This one I did only take on my eval account, so it was, I made 800 bucks or whatever it was on this, and gave a chunk of that back here. So essentially, we did come into this area of support. It held, it got above the 50, and it just wasn't holding the 50 enough for me. And again, that's a reason for me to not take the trade. So I took it on just the eval, and it went nowhere. I got stopped out. So that was just on the eval, so a loss there. I got long at 16,736.75 and got out for around about a 10-point loss. Now when I look back, I wasn't really watching the market so clearly in this bit for the last sort of like hour or so, because typically I don't get that many setups past 2 p.m. The only type of setup I was really envisaging was if we came into this low and we did something like this where we bounce over the 50 flag and then have a push into the close. That was the only trade I was really looking for. And there was actually a potential short that I saw just as I started recording this, actually, where this high here actually matched up really nicely with the initial support. So it's like support turned resistance, which is something I use. And also, to be honest, this high here, the support. So it is an area that it tried to break and couldn't. So that was a potential opportunity. It's not the easiest trade in the world. I'm not too disappointed I missed it, but there was an opportunity to get short probably when this broke here. So the entry would have been kind of around the 91 area. I'd have been risking probably around about 9 points. I think I'd have probably got in, if I'm being honest, I'd have got in a little bit lower than this, probably on the break of 90, risking probably to around about there. So around about 10-point risk. So this isn't like a slam dunk trade, but it is technically my edge because it rejected a previous area. It got back below the 50 EMA. I would say that this is a very tight period of consolidation. I mean, it's only about 7 points, so this is clutching at straws a little bit. So not too fast, but we can see that again when that edge presents itself, there was an opportunity. I'd have taken half off into this, and I wouldn't have got stopped out in this because it's a breakout trade. So I'd have probably put my stop to there, and I would have filled the rest down there. I know that I do say in quite a few of my videos a lot of like ifs and buts and maybes, and long term, I don't want to be in that situation of saying every day like, oh, I should have done this, I could have done this. But I kind of did a little bit of reflection over the past week or so and realized that I have only been trading this exact style for a few months. It's adjusted from some other things. So I traded really well for a month, and then the last month I began to make a few mistakes, and it's kind of the point where a lot of people would move on to something else, and I'm pretty determined not to do that. So I got a comment at the end of last year saying, essentially, it's not real trading if you're just saying I could have done this, should have done this. For me, you know, the comment did hit home a little bit because like, yeah, that isn't how you trade. It's something I have done in the past. Lots of shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of things. But I would say that the edge that I'm trading is clearly there. So it's more understanding, okay, why did I not take this trade on my live account? It was because I felt like I should be in this trade from before. There's also an element of I didn't want to take some more losses when I maybe wasn't looking at the market great. Why did I take this long here? Well, I pushed myself to see this. I thought I don't want to miss this. So I look at this trade and I go, well, the reason I took this long was due to FOMO. Um, what was that FOMO triggered by? Well, I don't, it was very much a case of I don't want to miss, I don't want to miss out on a potential move. I think I began getting a little bit too, oh yeah, we'll get an easy, move like this. Pretty confident given the market before the new year was bullish. Why did I not take out for profit here? I just got very unlucky, and then I didn't take this partly because I didn't want to take on more losses. Why did I take this trade? I think it was later on in the day, and I felt like, yeah, maybe this will work out. And even though it wasn't ideal, I kind of was a little bit low on energy, so took that trade. So for me, it's really a case of understanding when I make a mistake, what that mistake was caused by, because I would say that today that my edge itself did perform pretty well. In fact, my edge today, even the trades I took, I classed 3 of 5 of them legitimate, and those 3 made 36 points. So there is definitely potential in what I'm doing, and yeah, and I like showing the good and the bad, I guess. So here are my accounts. So my eval was down $135 today, so not a great start to that. And my live account down 500. My live account is now only 800 and or is that $993, so around about $1,000 from being blown. And like I said, I want to take on the approach of it doesn't matter because this is all about long term. It costs $140 once you get funded. So for me, if I do blow this account, it's not the end of the world. I've built a lot of scar tissue trading a live account, so it's a benefit regardless. And like I said, I've got these 2 live accounts after that. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I perform a little bit better because today, like, at the end of the day, there was really good opportunity today. Could have been a very profitable day, and I haven't really had one of those since I started recapping on YouTube, which I am pretty certain is a coincidence because I think I've just I think for a month the mistakes I made, I think quite a lot of them ended up working out. And recently that hasn't been the case, which is fine. That is what trading is. Sometimes you go through periods where the market's really easy for your strategy. Sometimes it's tougher, and maybe we've just gone through a slightly tougher period where the mistakes have been more costly. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next video.